kidding. How are you, Blake?
No, I'm doing well. Sorry about that. I
No problem.
apparently didn't get the memo about the
Okay.
Google. The thing is we've done this before, but we've done Skype so many other times that
I know.
yeah, sorry about
I
that.
know. It's
How
a
you
it's a
doing?
it's a birthday today for you in a certain special way, isn't it?
It is. It's my Marine Corps birthday. We're a good 240 years old. So
There was a tweet today. Someone sent. I don't know if you. I retweeted it, where someone said people are always wondering whether or not their lives really mattered and made a difference. And I think it was Ronald Reagan who said the Marines don't have to worry about that. They know they
yeah,
matter.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was actually
So
I tweeted that out this morning. That's that I, it was a it's a really it was a really cool thing that the president said about Marines, and
yeah.
I've actually I got a pretty funny story about George Bush Senior too,
Go ahead.
from years ago. Well, we were doing a Wise Trade convention. We used to do really large conventions, like think StockTwits. Okay,
Yeah. Uh,
you know how they have their annual convention. We used to do our annual convention. We'd have 2 to 3,000 people there every year. We did it for 7 or 8 years, 7 or 8 years, and it was about year four. I want to say it was about 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. And George Bush Senior was our keynote speaker. So we'd always bring a keynote speaker. So we had Colin Powell,
wow.
Roger Staubach one year. We had
Yeah.
Neil Armstrong.
Roger was Navy though, right?
No, Roger. I don't know if he was Navy, but he was. He used to work in our office, so it made it not in our office, but in the same office building as we did, which made it really
Okay.
convenient. So we had him, and we had a few. We had a pretty a lot of cool keynote speakers, but one of them was President George Bush Senior, and his son was was president at the time, and
Yeah.
he was standing. He was sitting next to me about a couple feet away from me, and he had about 17 Secret Service agents in the green room. The green room's where you go back and you put your
Right.
microphone on,
Right.
um, and I said, sirs, it was really good to see you again. And he said, see me again. I said, yeah, last time I saw you, I was in Africa, and I was on your bodyguard, personal bodyguard detail
Huh.
when you were in Africa in 1992 or 93, excuse me. And he said, "Huh, were you a Marine?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he looked at me and he goes, "Oh, well, thank you for your service." And I looked at him and I didn't know really quite what to say. And I said, "Well, thank you for your service." That's and he thought that was kind of funny, and so anyway, and we got a nice family photo with him and my wife and 2 kids. It was cool. So
Well,
it's good.
Blake, I say that, no matter what your political views are on any conflict, and it, not only goes for every country has a force to defend them, and they have their own veterans, and
Yeah, absolutely.
even, so I mean, even if you don't agree with what's happening politically on a conflict, you always have to be for the troops, because
Exactly.
guys like me, Blake, were in the dorms in 1972 praying for a good lottery number so we didn't have to go to Nam. And I always have the highest respect for people that have that type of belief system, that they're willing to lay down their life to give us a chance to sit in our homes without worrying about bombs dropping on us or a foreign power taking over, that we have the peace. And I actually sang a cappella today Trace Atkins' song Arlington. And
Oh, did you?
yeah, Arlington, what a great tune. So that was then, though, Blake. Tell me where
Yes.
everything's going.
All right. Well, okay. Well,
Blake, thank you for your service,
Yeah.
but what
Thank
have
you.
you done for me lately?
Well, I'll
So
tell you
where's
what I
everything going?
Okay, well here I'm going to go ahead and screen share what I'm seeing, and thank you very much for the words. And actually, it was my pleasure serving this great country, and I think you said it correctly. It doesn't matter what where you serve, what country you serve for your country. What anybody who served in the military to protect where they live and their people. So it's hats off to them,
Yeah,
and
and you
that's
know what?
tomorrow. So
Especially in your era, okay? It wasn't a draft. You volunteered, and most people have to be drafted, and it's by law that they do it. So the people that volunteered to do it are really an amazing group. So thank you for your service, Blake.
well, thanks, Dale. Well, I let's get getting to the currency markets. I actually just liquidated a dollar Swiss long, and I'm not sure how comfortable I am getting out of my Swissy. I've been holding this holding this dollar Swiss literally since like I've been buying since about 98, 97 cents right through here the last couple of weeks. So you can see this breakout as we broke this downtrend line. We took out another downtrend line too that has been in existence since 2003, and that's that blue line that was taken out. That was thanks to the non-farm payroll report. So
Okay.
now here we are, and I just took profits, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not 100% comfortable. I actually took my trade off the table. I literally just
Those
got out a
little
couple of
tight
pips.
range days, though, they make me nervous too.
They
Is
do,
that
and
the reason?
it is, and another reason is we made brief new highs here, and what
Right.
we could set up for is a possible double top. I shouldn't really exit until we get below this yellow trend line. That's where I
Where's
really should.
that? Where's that come in about, Blake?
That comes in about 1.0030. But now, as safekeeping though, I've held long Euro Swiss, Pound Swiss, and Aussie Swiss pairs, and so if the Swiss franc just starts to have a runaway freight train dump move,
Right.
I'd like to participate somehow. It may not be through the dollar Swiss. So I'm a little concerned that we might top here, and I've been trying to make it clear to everybody. Just because I exited doesn't mean I'm not bullish. And bulls and bears make money. Pigs get slaughtered, and you know that old saying. And you also have heard the saying that you're not going to go broke taking profits. So I've
Yeah.
taken profits. Now I'm just looking for a better entry. Hopefully it's not higher, which it could be. I'm at peace with the idea that I will have to chase the dollar higher possibly. That's not necessarily going to be the case, but that could be the case. And
Okay.
and if it does come down, I am a buyer as we get back down towards this parity or just below parity.
Okay, Blake.
Hoping that
You
we break
bring up
below.
a
Yeah.
very important point of people beating themselves up after they get out of a winning trade, and it continues in their direction. And how do you not become Monday morning quarterback and
How do I know?
just be satisfied that if you miss something, there'll be something else around the corner?
Well, the thing is, that's a great question, Dale, and I'll admit that I, just like everybody else, do the woulda, shoulda, coulda, but I've
Yeah.
really tried to control that over the years. But one of the things that really keeps me is if I know that I've got a situation like the dollar Swiss is a perfect example. This dollar Swiss could very easily just continue to go higher here, and if I get out, and I literally got out here at 1.0076, I think is where my exit was. I have to go back and look at my orders, but I literally got out right around here within pips of where we're at. If I
Yeah.
have to chase it higher, about let's just say another 20 pips higher, what did I leave on the table? What did I realistically leave on the table? If I have to
You
chase it
didn't.
20 pips higher,
It's a new trade.
it's a new trade. I left 20 pips on the table if I have to chase it higher.
But you didn't even leave anything on the table because you already booked something. So it's a new. That's how I overcome it. Okay, so if I'm recommitting to the trade, it's a new trade. The other
Yeah,
trade
and
was already successful. It's in the books.
it is in the books, and it's all about managing risk. And when you go back and you really, especially currency traders, you have a really difficult time with this. I mean, I know it because you're like, wow, there's only so many currencies, so I'm nervous that I'm just not going to have another opportunity. But the thing is I've been trading these markets for 20 years, and what I've realized is there's always something happening, and there's always opportunities available. And so if you miss something, you can't beat yourself up that you missed it. You just turn around and you'll find another really great trade. I do
So there,
one
okay.
of
How about this? So a trade keeps going without you after you've booked profits. You didn't miss a trade. So you could say, well, at least I was there for this. Instead of with having the psychology of saying, you could say to yourself, you know what? I could have missed that whole move, but I was there for it.
right,
Instead of,
and
oh, I left 20 pips on the table because it's going without me now.
and I think a lot of traders really well. Okay, so let me take a step back though, and let me also tell you something that we might have actually we've you and I had this conversation the last time I was on with you, because I told you there's two trades that could quite possibly make my year. And one of them was long the Aussie New Zealand, which never came to fruition, by the way. I was long and I ended up getting out again. It's the same trade happened to me three times this last. I want to say three times this last couple years, or last year and a half has happened to me. I've tried to buy this Aussie New Zealand. Every time we've backed up against this yellow trend line. Last time we talked, we were literally right here, and I said, Dale, if there's one trade, there's two trades that's going to make my year. One of them is going to be above here and a breakout in the Aussie New Zealand. That did not transpire.
Was
The
the
other
other
one,
one pound kiwi?
nope. The other
What
one
was it?
is the Swiss.
Okay,
It was
all
the it
right.
was the dollar Swiss. I've been waiting. See, I've been waiting for this breakout for a long time, and because if you remember our conversation, it is all about the Swiss National Bank with
Right.
negative interest rates, and no institution wants to hold Swiss francs longer term. I mean, they'll hold them short term. If the stock market goes down and we lose 1,000 points in the Dow pre-market, like we did
Yeah.
a few months ago,
Hmm.
the Swiss catches a bid really quickly. But you
Hmm.
can see how quickly we relinquish it too. The reason why is because no institution wants to hold
Yeah.
a
Why do you
Swiss
want to
franc
park
long.
and pay the bank?
Yeah, because not only are you
So
paying
it's
the bank,
that simple, right?
you're not paying the bank; they're taking the money from you.
Right.
If you park a couple $1 million at the Swiss National Bank, you're going to pull out not a couple $1 million. You're going to pull out less than that. So no institution, who is having a difficult enough time right now in the current market conditions, trying to make 2 or 3, 4 percentage points annually.
Right.
Why
Wants to
would you
give
park
up
your money?
what is it, about a quarter point or so, or a half?
Well, I mean, it's 3/4 basis points over the course of a
Okay.
year. So if you're only making 4% this year, you're struggling to make 4%. You're not going to park your money in the Swiss franc too long. So
Right.
they'll hold it short term. If I feel that there's risk aversion coming, and I think that the stock market's going to come down aggressively, I'll buy some Swiss really quick, but I'm going to get out of it really fast. I don't want to hold on to it. So as long as we're not in a complete risk off, you know, uh, you know,
And,
terrorizing,
and we
risk
know
environment.
that'll never happen in our lifetime.
Well, yeah, it can happen. That's for sure. Anything can happen.
Not for more than
But
10 minutes at a time.
right, I mean, yeah, we might get a sell off for 3 days, but other than that, so you gotta be looking to, in my opinion, the longer term trade is long
Okay.
anything against the Swiss. And so I'm but right now, like, I'm looking at the equity markets and they look a little wobbly here. We've had a great September and October. Chances are we're
Yeah.
going to have a rough November, and we might even have one of the 20% chance times that we go down for the Santa Claus rally, which again, is not
Yeah.
100%. You're looking at
Yeah.
like maybe an
Everyone's
80%
betting on
chance.
that I talked to, Blake. They're all saying pull back to 2020, which makes sense. The Bears own Thanksgiving, the Bulls own Christmas. So, um, but everyone's counting on this pullback. Everyone wants to buy it for a rally to new high.
Well,
And
yeah,
maybe
and I
we
think
don't get it. And maybe we don't get that Santa Claus rally. And maybe it's because Yellen really does become the Grinch this December.
That's really really possible, Dale. And I know you talk to a lot of people and you do a lot of great interviews, and so I will agree that I think November is going to be pretty rough. And so with that being said, going back to the Swiss franc, that's what I get a little hesitation right now,
Mhm.
especially if stocks are going to roll over here, if they're going to pull back. But what I do, we pulled up numbers as far as Santa Claus rally. Santa Claus rally between Thanksgiving and December usually happens about 80% of the time. What's about that other 20% of the time? What if, Janet Yellen delivers a rate hike? What if, the rally, usually a rally that happens in September and October, like we've seen, especially so aggressively, it really spells trouble for the end of the year. And so, my fear is if the stock market comes down, the Swiss franc is going to strengthen as a result. And even if it's just short term, it might be a week here and a week there, but I want to be able to buy the dollar Swiss on pullbacks, and that's the thing. And I don't mind chasing it if I have to, and I will. And if I have to chase it higher, I will. That's
What about all the unanimity of opinion that we're in the midst of another parabolic, extremely strong move in the dollar, and it kind of goes with what you're saying in the Swiss, except for risk off potential events that I'm also talking to other people that I respect that are saying that the dollar between 100 and 101, 102 could be completing something major. Is there anything in your work saying that that's possible at this time?
I don't think so. And first of all, let me start by talking a little bit about not only the dollar, but look about talking about, or let's stop and talk a little bit about gold and other precious metals, which obviously have a very big impact on the dollar. First and foremost, I even took a poll this morning with several hundred traders this morning, asking them about how bearish has your stream been, and your the people that you've listened to do analysis, how bearish has your stream been about the dollar. I think universally, and I want to say just in the people that I follow, I would say probably 70%, if not more, have been very bearish the dollar the last couple months, saying that we've put in a major top. I will tell you honestly, I have not had as much dollar longs as I wish I had going into non-farm payroll. I think there's a lot of people that have been left behind in this new move. There's been a lot of profits booked,
That's a
shorts
good point.
established, and
Right.
now positioning. You look at the dollar positioning, we're at the lowest levels that we've seen in a year or two.
You know,
So,
you're
or a
talking
year and a half.
COT, commitment of
Yeah, like
traders.
exactly. And so you've got a lot of dollar bulls out of the market, and they're like me. Hey, if I have to reestablish these higher, I'm going to do it. And I'd venture to guess there's a lot of speculative shorts right now that are trying to figure out what they're going to do with their positions. And so what I guess the point I'm trying to make is we had aggressive positioning through here. I think
Yeah,
that's moderated a lot. And this is a monthly
yeah,
chart in the dollar. So
right.
we had aggressive positioning through here. We've moderated a lot, and I think that we start moving through those highs, you're going to see those positions reestablished. Now that's not just talking about the dollar, because you look at the dollar, and I have to admit that we're probably going to get some the Fed governor rhetoric. Once we breach 102, 103, there's going to start to be, you know,
Yeah, because
Fed governor trying to talk
we're
it down.
losing the currency war, Blake.
Of course, yeah, we are absolutely getting destroyed in the currency war. But if you look at historically, the dollar is still. I mean, if you look at we've been drifting lower over the last 30 some odd years.
Yeah,
We're really still moderately priced. We start getting to the 102, 103, 105 range, you're going to start to hear a very large chorus of Fed governors really trying to
yeah,
talk down the dollar. But Dale, as far as this happens quite a bit. Fed governors will start really raising. They've got some eyebrows raised, but they're really going to start being vocal. But just because they're vocal doesn't mean that they can necessarily talk down the dollar. The dollar could very easily go on another you know, you're talking about we're about 100. We could go on a 5 to 10 handle run and have Fed governors screaming, whining, multinationals whining, screaming the whole
Yeah.
way up, and it
Yeah.
can't, until they start really talking intervention. I don't know if they're really going to be able to stop the dollar much. I think the dollar's got a lot of momentum behind it, and if the
Yeah,
if
they'd have to do a Plaza Accord like
they
they did the
would
last time in
something
'87.
something like that, they'd have to maybe do some sort of intervention. But the thing is, Dale, is our rates are going higher, and especially if, and they're definitely going higher in December. If they go higher in December, that's going to set the pace then. And when you got that divergence, that divergent theme between central banks, it ultimately what drives the dollar is interest rates. So when you
Right.
have, or any currency for that matter, so when you have expectations of quantitative easing, further, loosening, staying loose for longer for most central banks, and then you got the Fed raising rates, what's bound to happen? You're going to have that divergent monetary policy pulling the dollar higher, hand over fist. Now one of the other things, and I said I want to talk a little bit about gold, Dale, is if you look at gold. I mean,
Yeah.
gold is doing the absolute. I use some. I don't need to be using the really rude language, but this is an actual. I'm going to stick it to the man trade right here. I mean, because I'll tell you, Dale, I was pretty convinced at this point when we broke back in the
2 weeks
summer.
ago.
No,
Yeah.
not well. Yeah,
Oh,
maybe it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago
okay.
but it was more like about a month ago in
Yeah.
October. We were
Yeah.
rallying through here. We broke that downtrend line. I was pretty
Right.
convinced that gold was going to like 1,300. I was convinced at that point that gold's probably heading to 1,250, 1,300. We're going to end
Right.
up bouncing. We're going to end up bouncing around in a range down here. And listen, I'm a gold bear. I've been a very very vocal gold bear since we were
Yes, you
here
have.
right there. And so I'm if you're convincing a gold bear that the gold market's going to bounce, and I bought into that, I can only imagine what the gold bulls thought. So if you're bullish
That's a
on gold,
great
saying,
point.
yeah,
That's a
because
great point.
yeah, because if you're going, oh, gold's going to bottom, oh, it's inflation's coming, oh, the end of the world's coming, whatever your thought process is, but I'm going to buy gold and gold's bottoming here, dollar's going to hell in the handbasket, I'm buying it, and then you get validated when it breaks above that
Right.
1160, 1170. So now you're not
Well,
only
now the
bullish
gold
gold.
bears are going to be validated as we take out 1070, right?
Well, here's the thing. Now think about the dollar. I just showed you the dollar. There's probably
Yeah.
less dollar longs, more dollar
Right.
shorts now, and
Right.
they're about ready to get hurt. Now you've got gold bears like myself, and I don't trade gold. I'm opinionated because it affects the dollar, so I'm opinionated. But think about this. You're a gold bear, you're not short gold. You're going to go, wow, if we break 1080, I'm going to I'm going to short the hell out of it because I know a lot of people just got long here. And if you're long, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get killed. So if gold breaks through 11, I'm sorry, it's 1080, 1075, somewhere around here. If gold
Yeah.
breaks through these lows, the dollar
Right.
breaks through those highs. I mean, that's just adding fuel to the fire to the dollar rally because gold and the dollar are probably the strongest, most inversely related asset classes that you'll find. I mean, when you have a correlation that probably runs, I would say on average around 80% of the time, when one goes up, the other one goes down. That's a strong correlation. And so if gold breaks down, the chances of that pushing the dollar higher is even that much greater. That's what makes me nervous about selling the dollar Swiss because I know that.
Yeah.
And I know that if gold breaks down, that's probably going to just put a fuel under the dollar Swiss and push it higher. So
Okay. I just want to add one comment, and it's
yes, sir.
something that I was taught a long time ago. Is that shares bottom before the underlying commodity, and at the last lows, the shares were making lower lows after that. But this might be the first time if gold washes under that 1070 level, Blake, that you'll see some of the seniors, even some of the juniors, not confirming this low. So just one thing to keep an eye on, and that would be the first divergence between mining shares and bullion in many years.
You
So
know,
that's
and
one thing
and
that tempers my bearishness here.
I think that's a great. I think that's a great observation, Dale. And listen, I think gold is going to bounce. I don't think it's going to bounce here. I think it's going to bounce probably closer to 1,000, maybe 900 or so. So if you go, just let's go look longer term here really quick. If you
880 was the high in 1979-80 when the Russians went into Afghanistan. That's also 61.8 back of the whole bull move. 880.
okay, let's just talk about your divergence, which I think is a really good, a good barometer here. So we have this 1,030 level. That's
Yeah,
obviously that was a big breakout point. You can see the you can see how it's been validated here and here.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
on a monthly basis, and we have a 786 retracement of just the last 8-9 years movement that comes in around 950. Anywhere around here, I think we could bounce. I think, and so let's say the dollar makes a new high and it hits 101, 102, where people think it's going to peak. Let's say it does. Let's say gold breaks
Yeah, people
through
have been talking
1,000.
102.50 for years now, Blake. I don't know if it's an Elliott count or what, but 102.50 I've been hearing for a long time in the Dixie.
From a fib standpoint, it's probably the
Maybe
618.
96.
The 618 is 101.60 or so. So that
Okay,
looks very doable, and maybe even a
okay,
spike above there, previous support.
right,
So
okay.
those areas all look doable, which could, if you think about it, gold takes out lows, wipes out all the longs. Dollar hits highs, wipes out all the shorts, and then pivots and starts to reverse. I've told people, and I guess this is a great venue, as good as any. Um, I'm Me personally, and my confidence level as far as where I think the dollar is
You're
going
you're
is right
112.
there. Well,
Wow.
110, 112.
Okay.
I've told everybody the exact same thing, Dale, is this is not going to be a pretty move. This move, and if you're looking at this flag pattern going, oh, well, it's a flag, Blake, if it's a flag pattern,
Yeah.
that means it's going to, we're moving straight up there in just a year. No, I don't believe that to be true. I actually believe that if we head up to 110 or 112, it's going to be very ugly. And I had this conversation with our traders just on Friday of last week, that we break higher and we're probably going to stab higher, take out, get people squeezed out.
So
And
stair step type, 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of actions.
Exactly. We're gonna just, we're gonna whack those highs, then we're gonna come down, make everybody freak out that they actually bought the highs. They're gonna stop them out. Then we're gonna head back up. It might take us 2-3 years to make it up here. It might even
Wow.
take a year and a half, but it's not going to be pretty. The easy money was made coming from the 80s. For those of us that
Yeah.
were trading long down here, that was the
Yeah.
easy money. This is not going to be the easy money. This is going to be really choppy. It's going to be very ugly. And if you just think you're going to buy the dollar and just get long and stay long, then you probably want to do it and close your eyes for 2 years and don't see what happens, because it's probably going to be very messy. It would be my opinion. I think the dollar is going higher. I think the path of least resistance is higher. I think it's going to be extremely volatile, and we're going to do a lot of false breakouts to the upside, come back down, whack everybody who's long. It's going to be messy. So you just want to be buying on dips, especially extreme dips, my opinion. So.
Great presentation. Hold on. Ann, please take my mouse away for 2 years and put it in the wall safe. So, the general drift is same as it ever was. A lot of people caught the wrong way on the short side of the dollar. I actually think a lot of them are probably gone after the NFP, but you're right. We probably have to take out that high. And gold, even converted a long-term bear to getting bullish. So still plenty of, is the COT still positioned where there are a lot of longs to wash out? I know there's at least one sell stop under 1070, don't you think, Blake?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And there was a sentiment trader, I forget what his name is. You'd probably know who he is. He was saying that sentiment gold bulls are extremely high right now, and I still think it is. Like I said, I think gold has pulled a fast one on everybody. Even though I don't
Yeah.
trade it, I thought it was going higher. It had me convinced that we were going higher. Um, I think if it caught me off guard, it's caught all the bulls off guard.
Are
There's
you
you
negative the oil market as well with the strength of the dollar that that low that we had at 38 could be retested or taken
I,
out?
I think so. I don't. I'm not a crude oil bull by any
Okay.
stretch of the means, and I think crude oil's structurally it's broken. It's going to drift lower for. It's going to be one of those just not so hot commodities for. I don't even know when that turns. In my
And
opinion, I
could
have no idea.
the the strength of the dollar, even though it's stair stepping, be a negative for the stock market? Everyone that's looking for a stock market sell off is usually bearish a dollar too and bullish gold. You're right, but could the hook be that the S&P sell off with a stronger dollar?
That could be. I'm always waiting for that day. That we go back to the stock market selling, dollar buying. I think the market has to be pretty convinced that we're going down. You haven't convinced many people. I mean, you listen to Bloomberg or you listen to CNBC. Everybody's convinced that we're probably going to new highs. This is just a
Yes.
temporary setback. You start getting those people believing that we're actually going down, and I think that's when you change when the mindset goes back to I'm going to buy the dollar as a safe haven currency. But the dollar has not had that bid, and there is the component of the funding currency being the euro or the Swiss or so if stocks go down, those funding currencies squeeze like the euro squeezes against some of the emerging market currencies. That is still possibly in play, and so I don't know. I'm waiting for the I guess here's the way to state it, Dale. Don't be surprised one day if the Dow drops 200 points and the dollar comes, just ripping back. Just it it's weak. It's weak at the beginning of the day, and by the end of the day, it comes rallying back. If that happens, then that's my cue that the
Okay.
dollar's catching a safe haven bid. Is when it turns around really aggressively intraday. So, and I don't know when
I'd
that
like to
is, and
wrap it
even if
with
it'll
this.
overcome.
I'd
Sure.
like to wrap it with this, Blake. And I know you're a military guy, whether you're still in the service or not. You're a military guy for the rest of your life. When I watch what's going on with Putin, and I watch U.S. ships going by created islands by China and subs coattailing aircraft carriers, what keeps you up at night? And do you think that what's happening here is setting up for what could be an accidental beginning of a conflict?
I don't, I'd like to think not. What actually keeps me up at night is more of China's growth slowing to a point where there's a lot of social unrest.
Mm-hmm.
You've really tilted the scale in China where people aren't content being poor. So
Right.
when you had
They're
the
also not content not being able to find a wife because of the one-child policy.
yeah, that would
And
definitely
they're
make
and,
that
and
would
and the
definitely be social
Chinese
unrest.
would think about culling their population through a war, in my view.
Well, I think China is like one of those hot spots. I don't, it with Putin and is it all talk? And I think if crude oil continues to weaken, that's something that it's all about money
Yes. Yeah.
with China it's going to be about growth. And if growth continues to slow and they can't stop that pendulum from swinging the other direction, I think you're going to start to see some social unrest. And I don't know what that's going to yield as far as anything political, but I, politically, I'm not really worried. I don't. Those things don't really keep me up at night. What I'm more worried about is global growth slowing down to a point where it becomes problematic for everybody, not just like China's growth slowing to a point where it becomes problematic for Europe and then eventually for the United States. So
Okay.
but the
And who do you
but the,
worry about more becoming president, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump?
I'm worried. I'm worried about Canada having to house people like myself when we defect. So, just kidding. Uh,
I
anyway,
love you.
no,
I love you,
not gonna go
buddy.
there. Thanks, man. Hey, appreciate Dale everything that you do for the FX community. Thanks for having me on, and happy Veterans Day tomorrow for all those have served, not only in the U.S. military but anywhere abroad. Thanks for your service. So.
And Blake, the best way for people to follow you, your Twitter handle's at Pipsar. You do a morning broadcast called the Morning Edge. I recommend people, even though it's at the same time as Lard, check out Blake. I respect his work. He's a great follow, in my opinion, and one of the better minds out there in the market. Blake is real.
Well,
So
thank you, Dale.
consider
Appreciate that.